Hey, everybody. Cameron here, and with another weekly episode of Fearless Flight Live. We were just joking before we went live here about making an on-time departure. We use the Department of Transportation's guidelines within 15 minutes. So actually, we could say we had 9 minutes to burn here. Actually, 10 minutes to burn because we came on there. So anyway, enough of with the excuses. I'm going to play the dog card tonight. Okay, how can you turn that face down, right? So I'm sitting here in my stool waiting for this, and I feel this cold nose up against my leg, and I'm telling you, he just stands there in the humblest pose, and he's like, come on, Ron, pick me up. So I got a dog on my lap. So I've never flown with a dog on my lap. I'm glad I'm not flying now because I would probably be tempted. So anyway, all right. Well, welcome to everybody. And Dieter's been baseballing. God, you're playing a harder schedule than the majors, right? You got like 5 games in the last 3 days or something like that.
Yeah, you know what? Up here in Toronto, I think climate change, we're gonna be called Atlantic Northeast Rainforest pretty soon because it's been raining up here. As a matter of fact, it's been raining so much over the last weekend that at Pearson International Airport they had a bunch of cancellations just because there was so much water accumulating on the runways that they couldn't get it off fast enough.
Okay, that's a good point. And well, before I get into that, we'll just welcome everybody here. And if you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, we're pleased to say, thanks to Dieter, my chief technology officer, and all about good wingman and ace first officer. This is I think this is our 4th broadcast now, finally getting it where we could get that to work. So, and we're monitoring, so we can take your questions if you have any questions to run live here. So we're really pleased about that. And we're working towards, if you haven't figured it out, we're working towards a podcast. And nothing would make me happier than if we could, when we get to the point where you can actually call in live, because that's really what I want to do, the direction I want to take this. And then we can get the podcast out on YouTube, or on iTunes and all the other places where you can get podcasts. And then I'll feel like we've kind of arrived there. But anyway, and I am Captain Ron. For anybody who might be watching for the first time, we're Mars, glad to have you here joining us. And this is our weekly show for anybody who is afraid to fly. If you know somebody who's afraid to fly, or doggone it, you just want to talk about airplanes, because we do that as well. And good old Captain Eric, he didn't bail. He asked me, he said, hey, I could be there tonight if you got something technical or something that you need to back you up on it. But he had just got back on vacation or off vacation, and he had some things to do to help his wife out, who's working with her mom, like my mom, elderly, and got some issues. So anyway, so we'll keep him in our good thoughts here. And if you have not joined our Fearless Flight live or Fearless Flight Facebook Birds of a Feather group, please go over and do that. It's a great place. It's a growing resource. More and more people on there. Lots of good action, and leave your story, your experiences. If you run across any resources that you think might help others, we'll be more than happy to get them posted up there. And always appreciate following our page and liking us whenever it's appropriate. And if you're just dropping by, leave a comment. And if you got any stories about recent experiences or anything like that, we'd like to have you do that as well. This week, we want to make a quick shout out about the 201 class that's coming up on July 20th here in Phoenix. Anybody who's going to be in Phoenix, make sure that you take a look at that, check it out. It's the greatest opportunity. I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about what do you do when anxiety gets the best of you and you're flying. I got a couple of stories from this past week. But the best thing you can do is go to the doggone class. If you're anywhere near here and you got any issues with 201 and you have the resources and the time and the money to do it, man, you should take this, because it is the way to get in the air. And when I look at these poor people who text me and do coaching classes and stuff, and I look at the pain that they go through, and then I talk to people who've done the 201 class, there is no comparison. So keep that in mind, and maybe even plan around it. We got a big group of people following us in the LA area now, and matter of fact, we got a couple of people that have signed up from LA there. So give that some serious consideration. The class is great. It's going to be getting better, new information all the time, and you can see here the prices right now. The regular price is $397, but we do have our early bird special there for $297, which is a full $100 off. And we've split that if you want to into 2 payments, and to make it a little bit more affordable. Don't forget, if you want to fly with us, and we'll talk about this in the closing there, but we run a bonus class, our 301 class, which used to also be tuition fee-based, but now we do the 301. If you come that day and you want to do the 301, you get to do that for free. You need a ticket, but you get to do the class for free. Fly with me and our able-bodied group of assistants there. And the 301 class, you can see on the screen there, it's free for anybody who attends the 201 class that day. You can attend for free that day. And we'll get you to the airport. We'll get you a detailed pre-flight, easy for me to say, pre-flight briefing, and some in-flight support with me and Dieter and all the group that go with us to make sure that you've got all the support that you need. We do a really good, quick post-flight debrief covering any issues that came up, and usually all it is just a gala celebration. People, by the time we get to Las Vegas, they're wondering why they even signed up for the class that day. So, and we do give a guarantee. If you take the 201 class with us that day and you fly with us that day and we don't meet your satisfaction, we will give you your money back. That's all the tuition that you've paid, but we don't refund the price of the ticket because we don't have that kind of a relationship yet with Southwest. So I think it's a great guarantee. And you know how guarantees are. We wouldn't offer it if we didn't think we'd ever have to use it. So that's just the way it is. And I don't mean to brag, but it's just, if you get your butt in the air, you find that the pain in your brain is not about the plane. It's
and
about
I just wanna jump in here, Captain Ron, because shout out to Andrew, Andrew and his father Ryan. Last year at the 201, and Andrew is actually on the show right now. So hey, Andrew, it's great to have you on. And Andrew put in chat that he and his dad are actually thinking of refreshing themselves because you guys are, I believe, going to Spain. So Andrew just wants to kind of like kind of immerse himself back into that pretty powerful experience of the class. I say pretty powerful. It's very transformative, to say the least. Yeah. However, even if you have taken a class in the past, one of the challenges with Fear of Flying is that we don't often fly often enough, and so if we don't practice, then we got to have these refreshers. So if you have taken the 201 before, make sure that this is an opportunity that you can take advantage of. And I'm so glad that I get to see you, Andrew, and your dad again.
Hey, and Andrew, if you play your cards right, I'm old, and I won't be here forever. So if you keep doing this, guess what? You're going to end up teaching the class, and it's not below me to do that. So keep coming back, though. We really are. It's fun to see people coming back. And we have a panel now we've added in the class to talk to people who have been there before, and we've got a couple other people that are going to be with us that day, and we would like to invite you to be on that panel. Well, both of you, because both you and your dad say that. So good show. I'm glad that you guys are coming back. So terrific. Okay.
So here's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, what do you do? This is really the number one question I get from people when they text me and they're anywhere near the airplane getting ready to go. Is it you know, and I've got an actual transcript that we'll put up on the screen right after this. What do you do when anxiety hijacks your brain? You're sitting at the airport and you're just freaking out. Okay. Well, you deal with it. That's what you do. And you don't let it you don't let it take over. Okay. And you plan ahead. You go to the class, you get the harmonizer, you do all the things that we recommend until you find something that you can feel is starting to be reliable, and it's a tool that you use. You know, I don't know about you, but I remember all the way back when I was doing algebra. Who gets algebra, right? And you know, we were about a month into the course or something. I had a great teacher in high school. And I remember all of a sudden that little switch clicked with me. And I see that same switch clicking with people who are trying to deal with their anxiety and fear of flying. So let's take a look at this exchange that I had with, we'll leave the person unnamed there unless I blurt it out by mistake. But this is a text that I got. I was minding my own business, and I looked down at my phone, and here pops up this text. And she said, "Hello, this is such and such. I'm on a turbulent flight and feeling nervous. Can you help me? The turbulence got so bad, the captain said for the flight attendants to sit down. I have been on flights with worse turbulence, but this one is getting to me. I have an hour and 40 minutes left to fly." Okay. So what do we know? What do you know with all your experience following us out there? What's going on with this person? Well, they've got a story that's going on. They've done this before. This is not a first-time flyer. This is somebody that's been through, and they're just getting triggered. Okay. So why do we get triggered? We don't fly enough, just like Dieter talked about earlier. If we flew more, it would be a lot easier experience. If you had 20,000 hours in over 50 years riding on airplanes, in addition to flying them, you wouldn't get triggered like that either. But you don't fly enough. And so I can't overemphasize the fact that you need to work on this when you're not in the airplane. And you'll see here in a minute that how relevant that is. Okay. So I came on there and I said, "Hey, well, the story I'm telling myself," or she came back and she said, "The story I'm telling myself is that the plane is bumpy, which could cause an issue with the plane, and it could cause us to need to make an emergency landing or worse." Okay. So I just wrote back. I could debate that all day, but here's where I've grown in my ability to help people out there is we can get into a dialogue about how frivolous that is. You know, I just came right back and I said, "Do you know that to be true? Do you know when you get anxiety ridden, do you know that the stories that pop up into your head, do you know them to be true? Of course not. Of course they're not true. Okay. But you buy into it anyway. I mean, it's one thing that to tell yourself a story, but it's another thing to tell me, which people do. I know it's irrational, but why is it popping around my mind? Here's the reason. It's because we have busy minds. We have noisy minds, okay? And anxiety makes them get busier. And it's called a safety strategy, all right? That means that you come up with an excuse, even though it may have no relevance in the real world or rational as an explanation for what's going on, or have no likelihood that it's going to help you. For a short moment, it provides you with relief. And the trouble is, the more you rely on that safety strategy, in this case, the airplane's bumping. So this is attempt at logic. Well, it's bumping, and that could cause us to have a problem. Okay. So you think just because of the energy you feel that you're doing something, and that makes you feel better. And then the story is part of that as well. It says, well, I'm thinking about it and I've figured it out and all that. And so that might help me. Now, it not only does it only provide my brief relief, but it sets you up for the next cycle. And you've heard me talk about obsessive compulsive thought loops, and you just keep going round and round. I get triggered, I get worried. The worry gives me some minimal relief, at least initially. And the more, the downside is the more you fly, the less long, the shorter the duration of the relief. So then you go down here with the safety strategy of whatever you tell yourself, back up here, another trigger, worse and worse, until pretty soon you're absolutely wrought with anxiety. Okay. So I asked her, I said, do you know that to be true? She said, no. In fact, I know it's not even likely. So there's that rational, there's that what we call the system 2. There's that part of our brain that does have the capacity to process, does have the capacity to do things like breathe. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is to breathe whenever you do that, you know, so she comes back and she said, you know, it's scary. I feel like I'm in danger, but that's a trap. Okay. Just because you feel really overwhelmed with anxiety, the level of your overwhelm has nothing to do with the actual level of threat that you're in. It's a false perception. It's an illusion. And so we just talked a little bit more, and you know, I mean, I wasn't even in a position to talk one-to-one with her. This is all through texting. So that shows you how powerful just a little bit of it. I mean, I'm flattered if you think that talking to me will help and all that. But our goal is to not make you dependent on me. It's to help you support yourself in there. So you need to do things like set yourself up for a 15-minute phone call. Find out if it would help you to do coaching. Find out what tools are out there that you can do that. So I asked a little bit later, how you doing? She says much better. And then it found out she was actually headed for Phoenix, and you can see there's the dialogue up on the screen. And I said, do you have the harmonizer? I was pretty sure that she did. And she said, yes. She said, I do. For some reason, I'm not using it. Okay. I haven't listened to it. Okay. This is frustrating on the one hand. I love you guys. I really do. But you got to use the tools. Okay. And you don't just want to wait until you get that turbulence in there going around you. You want to get ahead of it. So if you think that there's any chance that you're going to get bounced around that day, you want to put that sucker on and listen to it. And how long do you listen to it? Over and over and over until you want to reach through the electronic harmonizer and strangle me, because then you know that you're getting better. Okay. Seriously, you've got to use that. You know, I had another caller that coaching call just last night with someone who's making a trip from the Midwest down to Disneyland, taking her 3 kids and her husband and a bunch of friends. They're all going together, really excited, but worried that she's going to lose it in front of all her family and all that. And this has been a client, you know, for the last 4 or 5 years. And I said, are you using the harmonizer? Well, no. I said, come on, you got to use it. You got to use it, people. You really can. You got to use it or you'll lose it. Okay. And we don't want you to do that.
I just want to quickly mention, because, you know, we have a really good chat going here on Facebook. And that's a very prophetic statement. Let me just find it, that Albert Alvarez, love you, man. You got one of the best Facebook posts ever.
He does. Albert could be a professional Facebook poster. Yeah.
So he said, I think our anxiety is at its worst when we fight it.
It is. And what you resist persists, Albert. You're right on. The more you resist it. I forgot to put my pink elephant in here. If I pop a pink elephant on the screen, I say, whatever you do, don't think of a pink elephant. You can't, if you try to resist, the more you resist, the more the pink elephant pops up. And that is right on, Albert. That is exactly right. So when we talk about the next one, I'll give some.
But the key that you will not get around, and that to some degree is challenging, especially when we at this point on the journey lack the confidence that we will be able to get through on the other side. But the key is that we have to be in that situation where the anxiety is actually triggered, right?
Exactly. Your amygdala needs to be activated in order to reform new neuron pathways. That's why, hey, we're not against medication. If it works and that's the only way you can get on, so be it, okay? But if you can, manage the dosage and work towards learning these other tools so you don't have to use it. Because as Dieter pointed out, you have to be activated up here in order to lose it, in order to get rid of it and create new pathways. So you absolutely.
And I really wanna say that because you know, it's not a problem to talk about fear of flying with a therapist like me, for example, but when you're not actually triggered, right? And that is the key. We call that also exposure therapy. So being exposed to airplanes. And I just want to really quickly shout out to Paul Newkirk, who just did a pretty epic trip. It appears
all the way to China.
Yeah. But I remember months and months ago when he would write us in and say to us, hey, I'm back at McCarran Airport in Las Vegas and I'm watching planes take off and I'm taking pictures, and you know, it's just all part of his desensitizing to you know, to the triggers. And
yeah.
Speaking of trigger.
Yeah, speaking of triggers, there's Captain Eric. We gave you the night off. What do you have trouble? You got a workaholic thing going or something like that?
Oh, you know me better than that.
No, you're a pilot. You can't be a workaholic.
No.
There's no way.
No. I just want to make sure you boys had it completely under control.
Yeah, we do. And we're just talking about Paul Newkirk. Paul, as a matter of fact, to amplify that, Paul came, I remember the first 201 class that Paul came to, and he didn't fly with us that day. And you know, we never know. And then Paul came back, and holy cow, not only did he come back and go gangbusters, now he's talking about being a pilot. And you know, I feel for him. Too bad he can't get a more, you know, highly recognized job, but so be it. We're always looking for new people in there. So we're just talking about some. Hey, Dieter, let's just skip to the last slide there with the other texting that I had on there if you want. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this is another one. These are just two of the calls that I got this week. 2 calls. There were 2 texts that I'm sitting there minding my own business. And this came in and it said, starting a flight to New York City, reminding myself that nothing Mother Nature can create will affect the plane's ability to fly. Right? And then 4 question marks. So, okay, what's a power word to concentrate on? Got my harmonizer. Okay. And so I wrote back. I said, you're so right. When you notice a thought that's negative, and here's what I also told the other texter the other day. So this is a strategy that you can employ. Dieter said, you know, the more you fight the thought or the feeling, and they come in differently, right? A thought that you have often generates emotions, but sometimes you don't get a conscious thought. Sometimes you just get a nervous stomach. Sometimes you just get sweaty palms and you just feel like crap. Okay. So it's thoughts and feelings. So when that comes in there, all right, when you notice one of those and it's a negative thought or feeling, you want to say, hey, that's a thought. It's just a thought. I have thoughts, but I'm not all my thoughts. Okay. Similarly, for strong feelings that you get, and this is what I wrote to the texter the other day, you do the same thing. You just say, hey, that's a feeling. It's just a feeling. Now, is this going to work the first time you whip it out and you're already overwhelmed on board the airplane? Probably not. Okay. And that's where you got to do this stuff beforehand. When I did some coaching last night with another client that I've worked with before, she got this big flight coming up to Florida on Thursday, and I suggested to her, I said, okay, what you want to do now is you want to listen to the harmonizer and listen to the thoughts and stuff while you're doing the harmonizer. You want to overload your brain if you can, because initially you want to just saturate that negative feedback that you're getting in there. But if you can just say, it's just a thought, it's just a thought, it's just a feeling, and you'll find that when you do that over time, you'll do that. I've been meditating for 30 years now, and it's not a big deal for me. I just do 10 minutes in the morning, and I feel now if I don't do that, it isn't a good start for my day, and I'll try to pick it up later. And if you do coaching and down the road, we're going to be talking about some other ways that you can practice mindfulness. You can do a lot more beyond just having 10 minutes of trying to have quiet time in the morning. There's a lot of power meditations, power mindfulness that you can do. So anyway, so kudos to this person for checking in and saying, hey, nothing Mother Nature can do, talking about turbulence, can jeopardize our safety, right? And I said, yeah, right. And that's true. So again, but the pain in your brain is not about the plane. It's not about what you're experiencing in terms of turbulence or anything like that. It's about the story that you're telling yourself. So you've got to identify the triggers, identify the story behind it, learn to reflect that back. That's just a feeling or that's just a thought, and then use tools like the harmonizer to do that. And again, before we close this down here, I want to invite you, if anybody out there, if you have not ever done a free 15-minute coaching session, I really encourage you to do that. It is free. It's helpful. Most people tell me that. I keep filling up my schedule with people like that. And you could, the link will be in the notes to the show tonight. And all you have to do then is just click on that link and schedule your own time with me at a time that's convenient for you. So anyway. Okay.
I actually have there's a couple of questions.
Okay.
That and Eric, the first one, I'm gonna just ask you that. Yeah. Well, it's more a curiosity question, because one of the people, Heather, you asked what to do when you actually have a panic attack on a flight. And I want to take a step back, Eric, and I just want to say, if you could tell everybody how long you've been a commercial pilot and how many times you've run into people having like a full-on panic.
Oh, I thought he was going to talk about his panic attacks when he flies.
No, it's not that one. Okay, this is easy. 31 years. And all that time, I can remember exactly zero. And the flight attendants would have called me and said, hey, we had this poor passenger back here having just an eruption. And I don't ever remember even hearing about it happen. But our poor clients, your poor clients, and that's then the top 2 or 3 of their concerns. Is that the airplane won't fly and has no reason to fly. And right after that is that they will have a panic attack on the airplane. All of them seem to worry about it, but I don't even remember a brother's friend's cousin who knew a person who told me they had somebody in the airplane that it happened to.
Yeah, and it's the same root cause. It's the story that you tell yourself about what if I have a panic attack more than it is the panic attack, right? Yeah. So it's fear of my own fear. And we're gonna introduce some other concepts here down the road. When I talk about safety strategies, another safety strategy is the whole belief that I'm going to have a panic attack. So if I worry about it in advance, that's going to somehow help me out. It's not. It's going to set you up more for it. Now, people do have panic attacks, no question about it. I've actually had a couple in my own life. Very unusual circumstances. They weren't related to flying. And they can be frightening. Your heart starts to beat faster. Okay. But that's because of your limbic system is telling your heart to get ready because it thinks that something's going to happen. All right. If you have a heart attack, I've been told by people who have had a heart attack, you won't know about it. Okay. It's not one of those things that your heart starts to beat faster and then you have to worry about it. All right. And most of the problem for most people is if they're afraid that if they have a panic attack, I'm working with a private coaching student right now. Her biggest fear is that people will see her having a breakdown, having a panic attack, and she'll be embarrassed. And again, all those things. Why wouldn't you have a panic attack if you're worried that if you do have one, people are going to make fun of you or you're going to be somehow ostracized or exposed to the world? And that's because as human beings, we're tribal beings, right? And we need the approval, at least tacit approval, from other people in our tribe. So we get on this airplane and we look around us and everybody else seems to be doing okay. They're not. About 25% of those people on that airplane are just as scared as you are. but they are also internalizing it just as well as you are. Okay. Most people who think they're on the verge of a panic attack or may even be having one, you don't show it. Okay. You really don't.
And it was actually Michelle Villa, she just put it in the comment. She said she had a panic attack on the plane, and that's what really motivated her then to come and seek us out. And Michelle did the 201 class and a 301 class back in October 2017 with us, and then
she sat right there next to me. And when we forgot her, I said, there's no way Michelle is going to stay on this airplane. And bless her heart, she was talking to herself all the way out, texting. She was asking me questions. She was saying, what about this? What about this? And, and bless her heart. And by the time we got done, she's a fearless flyer.
And we were super lucky to have her back just this past March at the 201 class in Air Hollywood at the panelist discussion, and really get to kind of hear her story as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Eric, I cut you off there.
Oh no, it wasn't important. I was just gonna say we got to stop betting against these guys making it and getting on the airplane, because they're doing it, and we're going, there's no way this person's going to get on, and they're making it. And by leg 2, they are sleeping. I still find that offensive.
Yeah. It's. I mean, we're out of a job when they.
I know. Yeah. They're just jacking us up. That's all.
Yeah. All right. So tonight we talked about anxiety. What to do if you have an anxiety. We're giving you a couple of tips here. Okay. And the best thing is get some help from somebody. Don't try to do this on your own. The average from the studies that I've done where people self-report is they live with it about 10 years on the average before they start to seek help. No reason for that. And the earlier you do it, the better. Avoiding flying is a safety strategy. And of course you feel better when you get off the airplane, but it makes it that much harder to get on the next time. So we want to just close out by reminding you once again about the 201 class that we're going to do in July 20th, if you're anywhere here in the Phoenix area. I do also want to highlight the fact that we are going to do another class in Burbank in October. So a lot of people have asked us about that in the LA area. We've got some people coming over from the LA area. So if you need to do the class beforehand, we sure encourage you to come on over here, make a weekend out of it. It is a fun event once you get through the flight there for most of you. But anyway, so this one's coming up on July 20th. Eric's going to be there. Dieter's going to be there. Sue's going to be there. And we're going to have some other volunteers there. We now know Andrew is going to be there. We're looking forward to that. Yeah. And right now we are in the early bird pricing, which is $297, $100 off the $397, or you can split it into 2 payments of $149 a piece. You do need, and we encourage you, if you can fit it into your budget, we want you to fly with us in the 301 in the afternoon. There's no extra tuition to do that. But you do need to have a ticket on Southwest for you and whoever might be flying with you if you take your coach with you or whatever. So, and the bonus, these are the things that come with the flight. It's free if you fly with us that day and you take the 201. So it's
Captain Ron, I just want to jump in because so here's the challenge that we are very well aware that you as a fearful flyer might have. Listening to Captain Ron saying, hey, yeah, and you're going to do the class in the morning and then you're going to fly in the afternoon. Well, the catch 22 really is that the sooner you actually can commit, the sooner you have the courage to make that first step, the better for you. The super early bird special that you're seeing or that you saw on the screen, the $100 that you're saving by committing to the class, you literally get. We're going to Las Vegas, I believe, on July 20th.
That's half the fare.
That's already, you made it already to Vegas, and then you just gotta purchase the return flight. But ultimately, this is how one way that might be helpful for you to look at and say, hey, if I commit to this, You know, and I make it known, because one of the challenges around fear of flying obviously is also the dealing with the shame that that Ron was mentioning earlier, thinking that we're the only ones. And I know Eric and I are often in the back of the room laughing, chuckling, because, you know, everybody thought they were the worst, or, you know, the
Right.
only one who had it that bad. And then you look around in a room of you know, 50, 60, 70 people, and you realize, wow, you know.
Yeah, and the other thing goes hand in hand with that, of course. Thanks for bringing that up, Dieter. Is right now you're sitting there saying, "Are you kidding me? There's no way I'm going to be ready to fly in that afternoon." And that's what a lot of people say. And next week, if you tune in with us, we're going to have Sosi and her husband Armin, who flew with us in March over in Burbank, and they're going to come on. They're going to talk what it was like for both the fearful flyer Sosi and her husband Armin, and because you do need to buy the ticket early to save the money on that. And we understand that seems like kind of a silly risk right now, because you don't know if you use it. But if you get to the airport, but you want to fly sometime in the future, and you decide not to fly that day, we're not going to put you in a straitjacket and force you to. You're going to be able to back out and preserve your reservation with Southwest Airlines. Okay, and we'll tell you all about that, how to do that. And that's in the frequently asked questions when you go to the site there. So take a look at the site there and kind of warm yourself up to the whole idea. But don't come to this class if you're not serious about getting over your fear of flying, because you're going to be so screwed. I mean, people are amazed. And next week you're going to hear from somebody named Sosi, and she's going to tell you what it was like for her, and she thought there was no way that she was ever going to do that.
Let me throw in one more important thing that Dieter started down the track of. If you're thinking about it and serious about the class, you do want to buy that airline ticket now. I'm a professional procrastinator, and I'll tell you right now, there's almost no more horrible sight than watching an airline pilot pay for an airplane ticket. I mean, it's awful. It's like watching people club harp seals. It's so awful you can't look away. But you do not want to wait. This is summer, and it's a weekend. And if you wait very long, A, the prices will double and triple, and then B, they'll disappear. So if you decide to jump over the bridge, but you wait too long, you may want to leap and not be able to go. In that last class in Burbank, well, we got 27 out of 29 people that intended to fly on the airplane, but we had another 20 doing the classroom session, and they had not intended to fly that day. And by the time they'd had some group bonding and everything else, they felt badly that they did not go. They were already there ready to leap, and they didn't have a ticket and couldn't go. So as horrible as it is for an airline ticket pilot to tell you to buy a ticket, I would tell you buy a ticket.
Yeah, so for sure take the 201. If you can swing it, get the ticket for the 301, at least plan on it, so you'll have that option if you want to. If you don't fly, we got you covered on that. If you do fly in LA and it all didn't meet your satisfaction, even after flying, we'll give you the money back for the 201 tuition, and we can't do much more than that. But get out there and next week, like I said, we're going to have a guest that went to the 201 class. She's going to talk about her story, and her husband's going to add what it meant to him. He was the one that was in tears when we got done. He was so happy to see her, and they've since made a family trip up to San Francisco, and she'll even be able to talk about that, you know, some of the what it was like afterwards. So come back with us, and make sure we're looking forward to seeing you next week. Any closing remarks, Eric? Thanks for joining us, by the way. Okay.
Hey, that was easy, just doing the 5 minutes, but I'll be here for the whole time next week. I'm not going anywhere for a while.
Okay, cool. So anyway, thanks again to everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week. FearlessFlight Live. I'm Captain Ron, and thanks for checking in with us, and we'll see you again. Happy landings.
Happy landings, everybody.
See you guys.
Good night.